friendly wish all of those in Harris Hall and those joining us online a good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of the Lane County Board of County Commissioners. I'd like to formally call these proceedings to order. It is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. For a little moment today, we have Veterans Day, which is next Tuesday. We won't be having a meeting that day, but I wanted to highlight that. For Veterans Day, we'll be down, and I wanted to highlight Marine Sergeant Dakota Meyer, who at age 21 displayed heroic actions in Afghanistan and was awarded the Medal of Honor. He also later left the Marine Corps to work construction, and some 15 years later, when a younger Marine asked him if he should re-enlist, Meyer had to check his own spirit and said, what did he still have left to give? So he consequently left his job at the age of 36, some 15 years later, and joined the Marine Corps once again. He said, quote, "You've got to be who you say you are and live by the standards you expect everybody else to live by. I had to look myself in the mirror and lay out who I wanted to be, and then turn around and assess all my decisions and habits and decide if they were helping me get closer to who I needed to be." So our highest thanks to all of our veterans who have served this country with this same and highest standards of service and sacrifice. So I wanted to say that. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Mokrajewski. How are you today, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. Do we have any adjustments to our agenda?
No.
Any emergency business?
No.
Okay, well, sounds good. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we were asked by the Asian community to reaffirm our statement of solidarity to them. As you know, some of our Asian community members have been targeted with burglaries. I think now the number's up to 23, if I'm not mistaken. And 23, yeah. And so, and our police department, the fine young men and women that do that, have also apprehended some people. But we wanted to, as a Lane County Board, reaffirm our stance to what we believe in our community. So I want to read this for you. This letter went out October 28th. To the Lane County community, we stand in solidarity with our Asian American neighbors and business owners who have been targeted by recent organized burglaries. These crimes are not just attacks on property, they are assaults on the sense of safety and belonging that every member of our community deserves. Acts that single out any group because of their identity have no place in Lane County. We denounce bias, intimidation, and exploitation in all forms, and we affirm our commitment to building a community rooted in respect, trust, and belonging. We call on all community to look out for one another and to report suspicious or bias-related activity, and to stand together against fear and division. Our collective safety depends on our shared solidarity. There's no place for hate in Lane County. And this is a statement that all 5 of us want to say to our county. So thank you for allowing us to stand behind you in such a strong way. Our next item on our agenda is our public comments. The public can speak here in person at Harris Hall or online. The time is limited to 3 minutes. We'll ask you to please watch the clock on the screen and stop at the 3-minute mark so we can be fair to all. And you can also submit your comments to us in writing 24 hours ahead of our meeting to be included in our weekly packets. We also reserve and respect your First Amendment rights, so please be respectful when you come to the podium. And I will call on our first member, and then I will call on those on deck, and you can come and state your name for the record and proceed. Our first person on the public comment docket is Chris Cirillo, followed by Sharon Carroll, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Chris Cirillo, and on Sunday, November 2nd, our family went to a local farm stand to get some produce. We immediately noticed a man wearing a white Freedom shirt with blood squirting from his neck and down his chest. He was dressed as a murdered Charlie Kirk. I confronted the man, and his reasoning was essentially that it was worth celebrating because Charlie, in his view, deserved to die for what he promoted. I wish I could say that this was an isolated event, but our county in particular is riddled with people who think this way. Starting on the day of Charlie's death, when a school district employee from Lane County felt confident enough to celebrate his murder on social media. The problem is that our local culture allows for this. Citizens who find it despicable say nothing. Government officials won't boldly confront this kind of ideological garbage, and the church in Lane County is largely silent as well. So first, I want to ask you, Commissioners, to boldly use your own First Amendment rights, each individually as well as collectively, to make statements condemning the celebration of Charlie Kirk's murder and any other similar act of violence. Not to restrict the rights of others, but to exercise your own freedom of speech in disapproval. Silence, in and of itself, is a statement of approval. Is that what you want in our county? Secondly, I call all citizens to speak up when you see things that are blatantly evil. Do not allow them to go unchecked. And lastly, to churches and pastors, it is time to boldly proclaim the truth to the world around us, to declare the victory that Christ won at the cross over evil, corruption, sin, and deceit. Let's pray. Father, we call on you, the God who promised 4,000 years in advance to Genesis 3:15 that the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head. You fulfilled that promise through the cross of your Son, and we ask you now that you make that victory visible here and now. Let the spiritual reality of Satan's defeat become the physical display on our streets, in our homes, and in our city. Your word says that you disarmed the rulers and authorities and made a public spectacle of them. Expose all works of darkness, bring them into the public light, and then tear down by your mighty hand every altar of witchcraft, violence, and desecration. Your word says Christ appeared so to destroy the works of the devil. You have seated Christ far above all rulers and authority and placed every ruler, authority, power, and dominion under his feet. So, Father, drive out the spirit of violence and desecration in our county. Defend those who stand for truth and let your church rise with a holy fire and a fearless love. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Sharon Carroll, followed by Bill Close, please. Oh, okay.
Good morning,
Mayor Mike Reeder.
Commissioners. My name is Mike Reeder. I'm at 375 West 4th Avenue, Suite 205. I represent Sharon Carroll Smith. I'm sorry, Sharon Simpson Carroll. I apologize. I'm here today to, on behalf of my client, to seek relief from Lane County's LUBA remand fee. In 2022, my client paid for and applied for a property line adjustment and legal lot verification application, paid the commensurate fee with that. The Lane County staff and county council took positions that were contrary to the application, denied the application, and went to the hearings official. I represented my client in those capacities. The application was denied, and we went to LUBA. LUBA affirmed the county, and then we went to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals reversed LUBA and the county, and remanded back to LUBA, and LUBA remanded back to the county. So when the county takes a position in opposition to the law, in this particular case, it then also has a fee that is required for that applicant to make application again and basically make the county abide by the law as determined by the Court of Appeals in this case. I am asking that this fee be waived on behalf of my client and also for all other applicants who prevail at LUBA or the courts when the county takes a position to deny an application. Now, in cases where the county approves an application and that's reversed or remanded, then there's no issue. Or when the county approves an application and a third party appeals and it's remanded, then that's a different story. But when the applicant has gone through the process, the years-long process, has expended funds to support the application, has defended the application with the hearings official at LUBA, and in this case, the Court of Appeals, and has prevailed, it is unfair for that applicant to then have to pay another fee to have the county do the correct thing. Now, I've gone to the Land Management Division and the Planning Director and sought relief there and have been rebuffed. They would not waive the fee, so I come before the board on behalf of my client as well as all other future applicants. Now, the code can be, or the manual can be amended, but you also have the authority to direct staff to waive that fee, and I ask that you do so. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Kathy Jones McCann, sorry, is after Bill Close. Getting ahead of myself here. I got one line too many. Sharon Carroll.
I was confused, too. I knew that wasn't Sharon Carroll.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, Mr.
Commissioners, Bill Close, 375 West 4th Avenue, Suite 204 in Eugene. I want to make 2 minutes worth of comments on a legislative matter you have on this afternoon's agenda, Ordinance 25-07. You're being asked to adopt that ordinance today. I, with two other land use attorneys, have raised a couple of dozen issues about the accuracy of that ordinance. Staff say that all three of us are wrong on every one of those couple dozen issues.
Excuse me, Mr. Close, just a moment. I have a point of order for the chair. This is a public hearing this afternoon. Should this testimony not be coming before us on the record during the public hearing? I'm asking the chair. Thank you. Or legal counsel.
We all refer to legal counsel. This to me looks like a public comment on a matter, so
It's
what's
on
your
a matter
opinion?
that's on our agenda for a public hearing this afternoon.
There is not a public hearing this afternoon.
Oh, it's just a third reading and deliberations. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
please, go ahead, proceed. Sorry, Mr. Close, for the interruption.
Thank you. So really, three attorneys with 85 years of collective experience raised a couple issues, and staff says we were wrong on every last one of them. And that's a shockingly bad batting average. I put a lot of energy into reviewing this ordinance and making multiple sets of comments to you because I think it's a very important ordinance. It deals with housing. It's supposed to be an ordinance about facilitating housing. It also deals with Goal 5 streams and the riparian vegetation that protect them. Both of those things are very important. Personally, I would rather spend the next 6 months putting more effort into making that ordinance better rather than appealing it. Filing appeals is not an efficient way to get better legislation. So in the event the board has second thoughts about this ordinance and decides that it needs more work, I would be happy to volunteer my efforts. For me, that'd be a lot better than having to appeal the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kathy Jones McCann, in care of Mike Reeder, please.
Thank you, Chair and Board. Again, my name is Mike Reeder. I represent Kathy Jones McCann. I'm here before you to...
Pardon me, Mr. Reeder. I have another point of order for the
Yes,
chair.
thank you.
We generally don't take public comment from the same person more than once in a session.
I see.
I think in this instance, Commissioner, because he's here on behalf of multiple individuals, I think it's okay.
I'm not clear why those individuals aren't coming to speak for themselves or communicating with us through email if they're not able to.
They're a represented party, and I think Mr. Reeder is here speaking on their behalf, although this is a separate matter that the board should be aware of. So, but I think Mr. Reeder is entitled to his public comment.
Thank you. Thank you. Apologize for the interruption.
That's okay. Thank you. Yes, I come before you to second what Mr. Close says, and also I'll be brief. I, too, would be willing to offer our services grata to work with the county staff on making the clear and objective standards more clear and objective and also less intrusive in regards to the riparian area. You may hear that, well, today you may hear from staff that, well, we sent out public comment, we talked with Mr. Reeder, Mr. Close, and others, and they had the opportunity to. Well, it's true that we did receive the invitation to have a high-level discussion about clear and objective standards. And I spent about a half hour via Zoom with LCOG staff and county staff to talk generally about clear and objective standards. And it's also true that a copy of the draft changes to Lane Code Chapter 16 were provided to myself as well as others, but that was right before the Planning Commission hearing. So there wasn't this kind of back and forth that you normally have with this type of legislation, and we would prefer, rather than appealing it to LUBA and perhaps the Court of Appeals, that we move forward with a collaborative approach with stakeholders. That could include all of the stakeholders who provided testimony with the board. That would include myself, Mr. Noteboom, Mr. Close, Landwatch, I believe Sean Malone from Landwatch also participated, and we could work with staff to provide a product that you will be able to feel confident in. So I will make one more note. Staff provided a supplemental memo responding to the comments that myself, Mr. Close, and Mr. Noteboom provided to you. That was after the legislative record was closed. So I and Bill Close and Aaron Noteboom have not been able to reply to the supplemental memo that you've received. If we had the opportunity to do so, we would be able to do so in a robust manner, and you'd be able to see the difference between the two opinions between staff and us. We believe that a sit-down stakeholder meeting makes the most sense, and we offer our services to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. JP Lemke, followed by our online queue.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is JP Lemke. I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and I'm here to speak out against the 22 flock cameras that the county has purchased and intends to put up around the county. So, speaking about flock. The flock technology is a mass surveillance technology. It can be used to track anyone for any reason at any time. Not only is this a gross violation against the Constitution, against unreasonable searches and seizures, it has also been abused repeatedly by the police in more than one jurisdiction. It's important to note that these are more than just license plate readers, though ostensibly they claim to be only license plate readers. They could be used to track other things, including bicycles. Flock claims that they are not using the technology to track for facial recognition. However, that of course can be changed at any time. This is because Flock is a private company. They are billionaire owned, they are billionaire backed. Their duty, first and foremost, is to their shareholders, right? Their goal is to make a profit. It is not to provide public safety. Data from Flock, as I said, has been misused multiple times. It has been shared with ICE in order to track immigrant workers. It has been used at least one time to track a woman who crossed state lines in order to get an abortion. This was a case that happened in Texas. And it has been used on more than one occasion by a few officers to abusively track their romantic partners and stalk them. So it empowers everyone who has a car, especially, and can be searched in the database to be tracked at any time. These cameras have already been shut down in Eugene. They've been turned off. They have not been removed. They've been put up in Springfield, and as far as I know, have not been turned on yet. This is because people have spoken out against them. They are highly, highly unpopular. We as an organization have spoken to many people around town, and basically universally, nobody wants these up. I will say, in respect to the comment that was made at the beginning about defending the Asian community, I identify very much with that as a person whose partner is Asian. I will say that if we are to defend the Asian community, our first step would probably be to not track every single member of that community. Right? This, of course, applies beyond the Asian community to any oppressed group. But if we want to create a sincere attempt for a safer world, we need to actually improve the lives of working people, to reduce poverty and connect folks to a community that they care about. Our county is part of the richest country on earth. We should be able to do these things easily. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. And now, Jessica, I believe we have one online.
That is correct. And the individual already has their hand raised. Cameron Stringfield, would you like to be on camera for your comments?
No, I would not. This is fine enough.
Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
All right. My name is Cameron Stringfield. I live in Ward 7 of Eugene. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I, too, wanted to come out again to this meeting and speak against the flock cameras, the 22 flock cameras that the sheriff signed a contract for. I think it was really unfortunate that the sheriff decided to make a contract for these cameras when they're already under fire in Eugene and Springfield. And we've been trying our best to get them removed from our community. I agree with all of the points that were raised by JP and previous speakers at meetings that have spoken on this topic. There's a million reasons why we shouldn't have flock mass surveillance in our city. I mean, for one, dragnet surveillance doesn't actually solve crimes. The crimes are still happening. People are losing their SNAP benefits right now. So I imagine there's a lot of small retail theft going on so that people can survive. People are feeling the weight of capitalism every single day. And really what we need are adequate social services, good health care, good housing, good education. These things that, you know, as the richest country in the world, we have the ability to do, but we spend this money on police and war and things that we don't need. So there's, like I said, a million reasons why we shouldn't have the flock cameras. But I wanted to highlight just a few things recently that have happened that should give you room for pause. So, of course, in Eugene, the city is being sued by the ACLU for not providing public records when it comes to the flock cameras. Senator Ron Wyden has also came out against flock and has encouraged counties and cities to remove their cameras. He is also going to the FTC about the Flock Corporation, as some of their data has appeared on Russian cybercrime servers. So it's a very vulnerable system. I also want to say that I have talked to a lot of cities around Lane County about if they were going to pursue flock cameras or not. And only Eugene, Springfield, and Florence actually have them. Junction City was looking into them, but it looks like they haven't took them up. And some cities in your county, like Veneta, West Fur, Coburg, and Dune City, have all said that they have no cameras and have no interest in getting those cameras. So personally, I don't understand why Lane County has any interest in these. Please cancel the flock contract and defend your citizens from mass surveillance. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, is there anyone else online?
No, Chair, that concludes our online participants.
Okay, thank you for all coming out to do public comments today. We respect and hear your opinion. Thank you for taking the time to come and tell us what we need to know from your perspective, so thank you again. Our next item on our agenda will be our consent calendar. All items listed here are routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If a discussion is desired, that item would be removed from the consent calendar and would be considered separately. Details on each item can be found in the blue links attached to the item descriptions on the agenda online. Looking for a motion to approve our consent calendar for the day.
Chair, I move to approve the consent calendar for November 4th, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck to approve the consent calendar. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. And our sixth item is our Public Works item. It's a presentation for Order 25110404 in the matter of approving a 2025 Transportation Safety Action Plan, or TSAP, as I assume staff would probably refer to. Becky Taylor and Taylor Carsley is our presenters, so whoever wants to start, please go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. I'm Becky Taylor. I'm a Senior Transportation Planner with Lane County. And joining me is Taylor Carsley, new to my team, but not new to Lane County, transferred from land management to transportation planning. And we're here today to ask the board to approve the updated Transportation Safety Action Plan. This safety action plan will help Lane County advance our commitment to work towards zero deaths. The board approved our first Transportation Safety Action Plan in 2017, which included the commitment to work towards zero deaths. The Towards Zero Deaths approach is based on the belief that even one traffic-related death on our roads is unacceptable. The TSAP uses a data-driven approach to target areas for improvement and employs proven countermeasures integrating education, enforcement, and engineering actions. Lane County secured a Safe Streets and Roads for All, SS4A, program funds through a competitive grant application process through the Federal Highway Administration to update our TSAP. Over the past year, staff has been working with safety expert consultants and conducting community meetings across Lane County to produce an updated TSAP. The board received an update about the TSAP process at the July 22nd, 2025 Fatal Crash Investigation Team, or FCIT, report. At that time, the board asked about the timeliness of crash data. TSAPs are 5-year plans that are based on the most recent 5 years of official crash data. And official data is typically 2 years old because the Oregon Department of Transportation, or ODOT, processes and quality controls the data to ensure all records have been submitted, verified, and geolocated accurately. ODOT has recently launched a project to overhaul their crash data system to improve quality and timing. The 2017 TSAP was based on data from 2010 to 2014. This 2025 TSAP is based on data from 2018 to 2022. 2023 data was released during our planning process and is included in our analysis. This plan in today's presentation is based on that official data. More current unofficial data will be provided to the board at a future FCIT report. Between 2017 and 2025, the consistent message to the board by the Fatal Crash Investigation Team is that fatal and serious injury crashes are only getting worse, and that Lane County lacks sufficient resources to provide sufficient education, engineering, and enforcement interventions to prevent these crashes. In order to access certain safety funding, Lane County's TSAP needs to be updated every 5 years. So your approval today is critical for Lane County to qualify for funding. The 2025 TSAP provides a strategic framework to achieve 0 deaths. It establishes a goal of achieving 0 deaths and injuries by 2045. This date-specific commitment is required of the TSAP to access safety grant funding. Saving lives otherwise lost by traffic crashes is fundamental to achieving the county's mission statement, "We improve lives." And for reference, Washington County, Benton County, Deschutes County, Multnomah, and Marion County, they're also updating their TSAPs with this SS4A program, and they will also be required to have comparable policy commitments. Also, ODOT's TSAP establishes the following. Oregon envisions no deaths or life-changing injuries on Oregon's transportation system by 2035. This time-bound commitment, however, does not result in a funding or other penalty if the goal is not achieved. As the board may recall, the FCIT was created in 2017 following the approval of the 2017 TSAP to align county departments in working towards 0 deaths. This team includes representatives from Public Works, Public Health, and the Sheriff's Office to bring experts in engineering, prevention, education, and traffic enforcement together to discuss interventions for preventing future crashes. The team serves as the safety task force for developing and implementing the TSAP, and this team reports to the board twice a year. This TSAP is based on a safe system approach, which stresses the responsibility of road authorities to design a transportation system that anticipates and accommodates human error. Everyone makes mistakes, but no one should die or suffer life-changing injuries because of them. On rural roads, on average, about 11 people die and 33 people are seriously injured every year from crashes. These crashes have devastating impacts on families and communities. Without intervention, Lane County will continue to experience preventable loss of life and injury on our roads, especially as our infrastructure ages and risking driving behaviors like speeding and impairment persist. Compared to peer counties in Oregon, Lane County's fatal and serious injury crash rate is among the highest. The number of people killed or seriously injured in Lane County over the last 5 years of crash data totals 1,045 people. And despite fewer people living in rural areas, most fatal and serious injury crashes are happening in rural Lane County. The rate of fatal and serious injury crashes per population on rural roads is 3 times greater than the Eugene-Springfield area and 2.5 times greater than other smaller cities. In addition to this disproportionate share of high-severity crashes, people living in rural areas often have fewer transportation options and must travel longer distances to work, school, and services so they are more impacted by roadway safety. So this TSAP focuses on the needs of rural Lane County. The study area includes all county roads outside the Eugene-Springfield urban growth boundaries. However, Lane County, Eugene, and Springfield, they coordinate through the Central Lane Metropolitan Planning Organization on transportation safety planning. The crash analysis identified the greatest risks contributing to fatal and serious injury crashes on county roads. From an engineering perspective, we need to focus on intersections and roadway departure crashes. Countermeasures to these crashes is where we can save the most lives. Risky driving behavior includes speeding and drugs and/or alcohol, and enforcement and education interventions are needed to address these risks. Again, the data shows that if we can focus just on roadway departure engineering countermeasures, we could seriously reduce the number of fatal and serious injury crashes because that represents 62% of these serious crashes. Also note that these percentages don't add up to 100% because there could be multiple factors in a single crash, such as speeding and roadway departure combined. And now I will pass it to my colleague Taylor.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Board. So the 2025 TSAP identifies a high priority network, which is a system of county-maintained roads with the greatest risk of fatal and serious injury crashes. So this is a really important framework of the plan in front of you. It was developed by blending findings from data-informed safety evaluations, including density of fatal and serious injury crashes, presence of high-risk roadway features, and community concerns. By focusing efforts within the high-priority network, the county can maximize its impact, targeting engineering solutions, public education campaigns, and saturation patrols where they will be most effective. So to ensure the recommendations in the 2025 TSAP are both actionable and grant ready, we held a series of meetings over the summer. This was the most rewarding aspect of this project. Becky and the whole team, staff and consultants, worked really hard to make these a success. So it was really important getting out into the community and hearing comments and concerns, and those really informed the plan that you have in front of you. So we also all ate pizza. Got to support local pizza joints. So that was a really important part of this project. So invitations for this outreach were mailed directly to properties adjacent to the high priority network, and input activities were designed to understand roadway changes that would be supported relative to property impacts. So what did we hear? Key themes that emerged from this outreach were concerns about speeding and lack of traffic enforcement, and relatively more support for smaller scale roadway changes than larger ones. So in response to this feedback, the TSAP acknowledges the need for enforcement resources and recommends implementing smaller scale roadway improvements while pursuing the additional community input that we need for additional funding for larger scale projects. So the recommendations within the TSAP include both infrastructure and non-infrastructure actions, and I'll be talking about these in the next few slides. Importantly, working towards zero deaths requires action. Given the county's limited resources, the TSAP recommends actions that are most critical to reversing the problem of roadway fatalities and serious injuries. So I'm going to start off with the infrastructure-related solutions. And these infrastructure actions include both systemic and location-specific engineering solutions. The priority infrastructure strategies are aimed at reducing roadway departure and intersection crashes, which are the leading fatal and serious injury crash types on county rural roads. So again, that's roadway departure and intersection crashes. Those are the leaders. Systemic engineering countermeasures are a broad approach to safety that involves applying a consistent set of solutions across many locations rather than focusing on individual hotspots with high crash rates. This strategy prioritizes low-cost improvements to address recurring safety issues, such as rumble strips to reduce roadway departure crashes. These types of solutions can be included in pavement preservation projects or relatively lower cost, higher frequency type projects. Location-specific recommendations are made for the high priority network, which range from near-term, lower cost, easier to implement solutions to long-term concepts that are typically higher cost and need additional project development and community outreach to further define. So I'll move on to speaking about two non-infrastructure related solutions. The first is enforcement. So Lane County has not had a traffic team for over a decade due to insufficient resources. In addition to inadequate funding, it is challenging to recruit and retain officers. Speeding, drugs, and alcohol are the primary contributing factors in many fatal and serious injury crashes on rural county roads. To reduce these crashes, enforcement resources must be applied. Although the 2025 TSAP will enable Lane County to apply for SS4A implementation funding for infrastructure projects, that kind of first bucket we talked about, there's currently no reliable funding source identified for enforcement. In the short term, the TSAP recommends continuing existing efforts. Despite being understaffed, the Sheriff's Office secures grant funding annually to provide for traffic enforcement, especially for DUI prevention around the holidays. And so DUI is driving under the influence of intoxicants. For example, over the 2025 Labor Day weekend, deputies arrested 4 people for DUI. The grant funding is limited and only covers overtime, which means most deputies volunteer to work overtime shifts. The long-term goal is to establish a sustainable funding for a dedicated traffic team focused on mitigating speeds and DUI on the high priority network. Between existing and desired future conditions is a midterm action to expand the county's understanding of the automated enforcement landscape. Several cities have implemented safety camera programs from which the county could learn. The result of this action would be a report on the exploratory process with recommendations for future actions. The last non-infrastructure related solution is education. The education recommendations leverage the expertise within the Lane County Public Health Drug and Alcohol Prevention Program. The education actions are focused on DUI prevention because that is the greatest behavioral risk contributing to fatal and serious injury crashes on rural county roads. In the near term, the recommendations focus on coordination efforts, such as working with partners to expand campaign messages. Over the long term, funding for developing and promoting education campaigns needs to be secured. So with that, I'll turn it over to Becky to discuss further implementation measures.
Thank you, Taylor. We'll be coming back to the board as we implement the TSAP, as we continue to improve our safety programs and policies. 2 areas that we anticipate coming back to you sooner include the Safety Corridor Program. As you may recall, in 2021, Lane County was one of 2 counties to participate in Oregon's statewide pilot program to test the application of ODOT's Safety Corridor Program on county roads. Lane County designated the first 7 miles of London Road as a safety corridor. The test success led to enabling legislation that becomes effective in January 2026. And to utilize this new tool, the board must establish criteria and a process for designated safety corridors, and we're working on that now, so we'll be back with you. Another area that we anticipate coming back to you on is potential amendments to Lane Code Chapter 15, which governs our roads. We're evaluating that code for potential improvements to safety standards. And as you know, any proposed code amendment would need to be approved by board ordinance. But the action requested today is approval of the 2025 TSAP. Staff recommends approval of this TSAP, which is included in your agenda packet, and the motion options are included in your agenda cover memo, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Taylor, I guess congratulations are in order, working for the city now again, right?
We're working for the transportation.
Transportation.
planning. Yeah.
Department. Yeah, excuse me, I misspoke. Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thank
here,
you.
yeah. Good work. To the board, any questions or comments for staff? Commissioner Trieger?
Thank you. I'm just curious, I know some of the answer to this, but the focus is on county roads, but we work collaboratively and cross-jurisdictionally because the roads connect us to other cities. So if we approve this, it opens the opportunity for funding, I assume, I hope, other jurisdictions support our efforts for funding and we theirs because it's a connected system of roadways and people's behavior is the same. They don't change their behavior based on who has jurisdiction over the roadway they're traveling on. So anything you can share about how we're working cross-jurisdictionally to try to bring resources in for safer roads countywide as a geography, not just countywide as our road miles that we're responsible for?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. We do work collaboratively with our partners at every agency jurisdiction. As you mentioned, it doesn't matter to the people who are driving the roads who owns the roads. So we do need to coordinate and work together, and we do. For example, I'm participating in ODOT. ODOT is updating their TSAP. I'm serving on their advisory board. And another tangible example is ODOT's active transportation liaison met with us about what rural schools need safe routes improvements on ODOT facilities. And through that discussion, ODOT secured Safe Routes to School funding to improve walking and biking safety around the Marcola schools. Not Marcola, I'm sorry. We got a grant for Marcola, so that's coming first to mind because we're so proud of that. Mapleton. Mapleton is along the State Highway 126.
That makes me think another, and this may be just more a conversation to have sometime. It seems sometimes the allowable uses of funding or the priorities of the different agencies are in conflict with what we know is best for safety. And I'm thinking particularly about ODOT. I mean, widening highways doesn't make them necessarily more safe. In fact, sometimes it makes people go faster and all those things. So in those conversations, is there conversation about the inherent tension between the sort of the goals of the different jurisdictions?
Yes, absolutely. I think the focus of all agencies right now is trying to bring the most value to limited resources. And the competition isn't so much competing against other agencies, it's really trying to make the best use of that limited funding. And so lower cost solutions that have greater benefit is, I think, everyone's priority. That's what scores the highest on these safety grants. And so based on that, our TSAP recommendations align with the funding criteria that we're aware of. And yes, everyone has conversations about trade-offs. And again, I think the focus is on some of the lower cost, not the reconstructing and widening projects has been the focus of most agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Farr.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the presentation. Of course, I'm going to support the staff recommendation. It's impossible not to because of the thoroughness of it and because of the expansion of work that you've been doing. Becky Taylor, since I first met you, this has been just the hallmark of your work is reducing deaths, making roads safer. And I can think of so many different check boxes that you've checked off since 10, 12 years that you've been working on this. And very effectively moving things forward. You know, I think about the work that was done on Route F, Highway 126, which is a state highway, of course, but some of the very specific things that happen on that highway to reduce deaths, and the types of things that we're talking about here, including the safety corridor, including getting enabling legislation. But on Route F, you know, you shorten the allowable passing zones significantly, not, you know, where you've got 50 feet to pass somebody, so you hit it up to 85 miles an hour to pass somebody, which is obviously a very unsafe situation. Badger Mountain, the winding passing lane as you head to the east, excuse me, shortened the passing lane on that so that people have to merge into a single lane far earlier. It used to be that people would you'd see people, I would guess, approaching 80 miles an hour just to get around that last car heading up the hill. So many things that you have personally brought to this. That is a state highway, of course, but removing vegetation, many of the concepts that you first informed me about that have become standard practice. And while we continue to work on zero deaths, we're far from it. There was a death just over the weekend. As a matter of fact, a pedestrian death just over the weekend on a rural road out in Commissioner Senega's district. We're all aware of that. Continues. And the state's TSAP envisions no deaths on the transportation system by 2035. That's a noble goal, and would that we be a part of helping ensure that. So that being said, I just have one quick question. Roadway departures, that includes just lane departures, right? So if you cross and have a head-on collision, that's considered a roadway departure.
That's correct. It includes both.
And so intersections and roadway departures are principal area of focus. Well done. Thank you very much for this presentation. Congratulations. Good to see you in this venue, and maybe we'll see more of you. It sounds as though we have a lot more to consider from here forward. So again, I am in favor of the staff recommendation. Thank you. Oh, one more thing, Chair, if I may. You and I started working together long before 2018. 1918. I was there, you weren't.
Different
That iceberg was, yeah.
Ours are much different back then, I guess.
But, and what happened in 2018, I tend to point out every now and then, is that Ms. Taylor, Becky Taylor, was named the outstanding public official for all of Lane County by LCOG. Congratulations on that. You continue that outstanding work.
Vice Chair?
Yeah. Thank you. Great presentation. And these are my favorite presentations because as I'm taking notes, about 2 sentences later, you answer every question. But it was very clear that our rural communities, and it's coming down to traffic enforcement. And so that's something I think as a board we have decided we are going to work on, and I think it'll go a long ways. I saw you were talking about rumble strips, and every now and then I get a phone call. How many complaints do we get about the noise of rumble strips, or how do we implement those?
That's a great question. I don't think I have an exact tally for you today, but we can research that. I am personally aware of noise complaints along the Marcola Road project. That was our first rumble strip installation project, and it wasn't associated with new pavement work. I think since then we've learned that if we install the rumble strips with the pavement, we don't have as much external noise generated. However, some good news is there's new technology called, commonly called mumble strip. It's a sinusoidal rumble strip. It's a different design, and it produces less external noise. And on our next pavement project on Marcola Road, we're going to be swapping out the standard rumble strips with these mumble strips.
That's very exciting because they are very effective, but that would be the downside is the neighbors, and it is tough because you get one neighbor that wants one because they live on the corner and they want people to not crashing into their property, but the neighbor across the road doesn't want the noise. So mumble strips, that'll be interesting. Well, congratulations, Taylor, and in the words of Rob Bovet, I'm sure you are a righteous hire. So glad to see you over here.
That's going to be reproduced a lot. Yeah, great comments by the board. Thank you again. I think it's really interesting that you brought out, Ms. Taylor, that the road should be designed to account for human mistakes. And just as you were saying that, I was just laddering through my head of how many mistakes I've made on the roadway and gotten away with, if you will. But also just some of the things on your board up there. Wharton Road was one of the ones that came to mind when you're traveling south on Wharton Road when it intersects, I think, into Clear Lake Road. It's almost like that hill comes down, so the speed is probably 50, 55, could even be more, but you're kind of a blind descent into an intersection that is blocked mainly by a lot of trees and nature foliage. So just to have designs like that, designed for people's mistakes, is very intriguing. I think the public really should take aware of that as we continue to design our roads, we're going to have to put some effort into that. And then, Taylor, you said working towards zero death requires action. I think that's a really important statement for our public to wrap their heads around, is that you folks are actionable in doing what you're doing, and you're making that zero death toward 2035 a reality. Presentation is that, as the Vice Chair alluded to, was we haven't had a traffic team for over a decade. That's a serious flaw in how we navigate and prevent deaths. Because so often, you know, how many times have you been someplace where you're thinking someone blows by you at whatever, or does something, and you go, dang, I wish there was a police officer near here that would have saw that. And that's really where we're at. So I think as we navigate our priorities going forward with our public safety task force and the like, that the public needs to understand that if we're going to get to a zero death kind of number that we all want to get to, is that we're going to have to put some funds toward that. And the priorities may have to shift from something else to this. So I wanted just to bring that out. And thank you again for the great presentation. The Righteous Hire has some stiff boots to fill, so good luck on that, Taylor, and thanks for joining the team. We appreciate you very much. All right, in light of this, order number 25110404, I'm looking for a motion to approve the TSAP plan.
Chair, I move to approve Order 25110404 in the matter of approving the 2025 Transportation Safety Action Plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck to approve Order 25110404, the 2025 Transportation Action Plan. Any discussion to the motion?
I have just one quick question.
Quick question, Commissioner Trieger, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Is there any funding opportunity sort of in the queue that we're awaiting adoption of this plan to apply for? Are we thinking there might be some opportunity coming up soon?
Yes, yes. So actually, the funding source that for this planning effort, they've been issuing notices of funding opportunity for implementation, and every cycle that goes by where we don't have this plan approved, I'm sweating. So today, I'm really excited to get this plan approved so that we can start pursuing the implementation funding.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Super. If there are no more comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Again, thank you very much. Great presentation, and keep doing the great work that you're doing. We do have a 10 o'clock time certain. That's 8 minutes away. So, Mr. Mokryski, you want to just go through and go through with it? All right, sounds good.
You want me to do my announcements?
Oh, well, let's do that.
Why don't we
Perfect
do
time.
that?
Let's do your announcements and we'll go to it. Good plan. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I have two quick ones, and then I'm going to invite Kachina Inman from Health and Human Services and Steve Adams from the policy team up to talk about shelter funding at the state. The first thing I want to say is just recognize, Chair, you mentioned Veterans Day next Tuesday, November 11th. I want to just take a moment to note that we have approximately 65 Lane County employees who have also served in the United States Armed Forces. Veterans Day, as the board knows, was formally established in 1954 as a federal holiday to honor military veterans of the United States Armed Forces who've served honorably. It's observed, as I mentioned, on November 11th. About 21 million veterans nationwide, which equals roughly 6.7% of the population. In Oregon, the number is 304,000 veterans, or 9%. And here in Lane County, in our community, the estimated number of veterans is 27,000, or 8.8% of the population. So again, wanted to recognize those individuals in our community, those 27,000 people who served in the Armed Forces, as well as in particular the 65 employees here in Lane County who have served, and thank them for their service. The second thing I wanted to note was today's election day. It's a rather quiet election. As you know, there are only 4 districts in Lane County that have elections that are happening: the city of Springfield, Dune City, South Lane County Fire and Rescue, and Lane Fire Authority. Those are the 4 areas, the 4 districts where there are elections happening. If you're in one of those areas, you can drop off your vote by mail ballot at any of the designated drop boxes for today's election by 8 p.m. tonight. The ballot collection teams will be there, so they're staked out there at those sites. They'll be there till 8 o'clock, where they then lock promptly at 8 o'clock. If you're, we say you got to be there by 7:59 in order for your ballot to be counted. 8 o'clock, they get locked. If you're going to use the postal service, it's highly recommended that you go to the postal counter and request a circle date stamp to be used with today's date. If you just put it in the in a postal box, it may not get collected depending on when you do that and stamped. And of course, we need to receive the ballot with the date stamp of when it was, of November, November 4th, sorry. Trying to keep the days right here, November 4th. The elections live stream is now live. You can check activity happening after 7 p.m. Tonight at lanecountyor.gov/elections. The ballot return dashboards currently show that we have 18,142 ballots that have been received. That is just over 20.94% participation so far. The first results of the election will be posted at 8 p.m. tonight, and then another update around 10:30 or 11 o'clock tonight. That's all I have. And then I'd like to invite Kachina and Steve, or just Kachina? Kachina and Steve to come up and talk about requests from the E-Board regarding shelter funding. And I know we have commissioners who've been involved in this work too that may want to share that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steve. Good morning, commissioners. I just want to provide some brief updates. First, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the ways in which you all have really deeply listened to our community. We all know that this is a really dramatic impact, and we can feel it even more as the nights get cooler, and we know that this has an impact on our emergency shelter, but also our severe weather shelter like Egan. I wanted to provide just a few brief updates on actions that have happened since you all approved the E-Board request. So thank you for that. And now we have really been connecting and collaborating with our community because there was such an outcry to do something regarding these cuts. So yesterday, Commissioner Farr sent an email as Vice Chair of the Poverty and Homelessness Board to our partners, letting them know around the E-Board request, and that was out, and here are the ways in which you can advocate. We have already received example letters from our providers in the community to say, here's some examples of how you can write that letter. Act Now is another wonderful example. They're a collaborative in our community, and they are offering to provide support to our partners in letter writing. So I just want to lift up the way our community is coming together and collaborating during a really challenging time. So there's a little glimmer of hope in how we work together. I think that's it. Steve, do you want to add anything else?
Not at this time.
Any questions from the board?
Just appreciate
Commissioner Farr.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I did nothing, really. Well, I won't say that, but really, the work of staff is just impeccable on this, working in teamwork. And what you're facilitating is both the private industry, our nonprofits to team with governments to make a request. So this is a unilateral request that we're putting forward, and not a unreasonable request by any stretch of the imagination. And we'll couple it with messages to the governor specifically, and messages that will resonate, we hope, in ways that help the state to understand that as an arm of the state, we're the ones that in our communities we feel the impact of the lack of the diminishing of shelter, and the lack of shelter, particularly at all times, particularly during the winter when we have emergency shelter provided through, for instance, the Egan warming centers, and everything's being cut. So we as a board have acted together already. This is just a supplement to what the board has already prescribed. Hopefully we'll get some traction, and with Act Now stepping in and providing sample letters, helping people to write very specific requests, I think we'll have a resonant request. So I'm very, very excited about that. At this point, I'd like to mention one other thing, and I did talk about the Egan warming centers. This coming winter, which is, let's see, tonight maybe, we're not going to get that cold tonight, but the Egan warming centers are in danger of losing nights this winter. And we know that last winter was particularly cold. We don't expect anything different. So at this point, I would like to personally dedicate $5,000 from my office fund specifically to Egan warming centers. And I'd look around the board and ask you to think about a similar consideration. Between us, we can make a deep impact on the operation of the Egan Warming Centers. More specifically, we can act as a body to demonstrate our commitment to providing the Egan Warming Center shelter. So I hereby dedicate $5,000 of my personal office fund to the Egan Warming Centers.
Thank you, Commissioner Farr. Good work. Commissioner Trigger.
Thank you. When you say you did nothing, I mean, sending the email comes with the backing of years of work on the Poverty and Homelessness Board, and that's what you sent is your years of work. So thank you for doing that. I know the letter we sent was across a few counties making this request collectively, other counties who are similarly impacted by these funding shortfalls. Do we know if these other counties are doing similar model of community organizing and advocacy with their safety net programs? And can we help them with some of these sample letters so that they can that's the point of this collective action. I know it's Deschutes and Benton, and I'm forgetting.
Central Oregon.
Central, yeah.
And Multnomah, yeah.
Indeed, in Multnomah, and Chair.
Oh, yeah, Multnomah, that little
yes,
county.
just them. And indeed, Commissioner Trigger. I think the level of engagement differs from county to county. I think we have a much more collaborative model here, frankly, than maybe you see in other places. And I know Ms. Budd is working with her colleagues across state government, our county government around the state. I think we saw reports over the weekend in the Oregonian about cuts on the Multnomah County program and some pretty extensive reporting there. I did not see mention in the reporting about the award request, so I'm not entirely sure how that's showing up in that location, but certainly we can make it known, I think, through Ms. Budd, what we're doing here locally. And so on the InterGov side, we are likewise talking to our counterparts, and we can share what we're doing.
Great, thank you. I just think that's part of the point of what makes it a stronger ass. It's not Lane County with these others tagging along. It's all of us together. So thank you.
Wholeheartedly.
Great. Great organization on that, too. Good speed on that all. Anything else, Commissioner Mokryski? Mr. Mokryski, go ahead, sir.
I'm good. I wanted to just, the risk of, we oftentimes find ourselves talking about one of the problems, and it's really important, I think, particularly as we have media in the room and people watching, that we're increasingly talking about the erosion of a system of safety net services that have existed for so long in our community. We think about the basic needs that people have: food, shelter, and medical care. Those three basic needs are being systematically, from both federal and state funding. We see the food insecurity related to SNAP benefits, and that is, yes, a short-term issue because of the lack of a federal budget, but it's also a long-term issue because those benefits are in the budget that was passed, the HR 1 that was passed significantly reduces those benefits in over a course of several years. In terms of shelter funding, this is where we rely on the state because, as you said, Commissioner Farr, we are an arm of the state. Counties were created before cities were created to exist as local governments that carry out state services. And so we exist because the state created counties to do that, and we rely on state funding. And so as we see, the shelter and warming, the energy and rent assistance for housing and shelter related issues, continue to be eroded. And then, of course, medical care with the reductions that are coming in Medicaid. So I just think it's really important that here, we talk, as we find ourselves talking about one thing, all of these things are interconnected. Then, of course, we talk about CCA, the state funding for our public safety system, and the fact that we've had to make cuts and subsidize locally for probation officers and jail beds for individuals that are cycling through the criminal justice system. Our probation officers really are working to try to keep people out of the correction systems, right? But if we're not supervising people, the likelihood that they're going to recidivate and end up back in much more costly institutions is really high. So this is a community problem that Lane County is not going to be able to solve all of these right? In government alone, the cities and county will not be able to do that, but we need to be talking about it as a community and coming up with, raising the awareness around it, because we're not going to be happy with the results that we're going to start seeing in the coming weeks and months. And I know this is a dire sort of message, but, I don't think we've ever seen this type of erosion of services, of critical safety net services. I certainly have not in my career in 25 years, sort of across the board, and it's a real concern.
All right, thank you very much again. Keep the good work going. We do have a 10 o'clock time certain, a discussion in order 25110405 in the matter of adopting the one-year activities for the 25-27 Lane County Strategic Plan. And our expert senior operational analyst, Jeff Kincaid, is with us to give us this presentation. Jeff, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Chair Lovell. Good. Though a bit sobering to have to follow Steve's announcements. He really queued it up for me, but that's all right.
Yeah, you're in charge of morale from here on out, sir.
Right. I'll do my best. Good morning, Chair Lovell, Commissioners. My name is Jeff Kincaid. I'm a senior operational analyst in county administration. I'm here today to present the 2025 to 2027 year one activities for our Lane County Strategic Plan. I'll start off by just saying, I know the agenda said 45 minutes. I'm going to be a little more brief than that, but we'll have plenty of time for discussion from the board. And while it's just me up here, I want to also recognize the team behind me that's done this work, the strategic plan core team that we have, as well as directors and leaders across the county. There's been lots of meetings happening behind the scenes to put this work together, so I appreciate all of them. This item is also a product of significant effort of the board, staff, and community. We began this process to update our strategic plan way back in July of 2024. If you can believe it, that's when we started talking about the process that we wanted to look at and how we wanted to proceed. Most recently, the board took action to adopt the 2025 to 2027 Lane County Strategic Plan in June. So since then, the strategic plan core team and the Baker Tilly, formerly Moss Adams team, have worked diligently with Lane County leadership to develop year one activities to address the board's adopted strategic goals and objectives through the current fiscal year. The proposed activities were developed through significant discussion and analysis by staff with directors and leadership teams. And I want to note one particular item is that staff have proposed to not include key performance indicators in this iteration of the plan. This was a pretty lengthy discussion with directors and leadership, but this recommendation comes after a really thoughtful discussion and recognition of the limited capacity, limited meaningful indicators wholly within the county's control, and pertinent data already being presented through other methods to the board. We didn't want to be a place where we're just pulling in data that was already presented meaningfully in other areas, and also recognizing the limited resources we have. The proposed year one activities are attached to the board packet for this item for your adoption. And rather than go through each item line by line, since they are intended to directly address the adopted goals and objectives of the board, we have a few directors in the back in case there are any particular questions or feedback on these items. And then I can also handle questions as well. Next steps, after the board adopts these year one activities, they'll be posted to our website along with the approved plan. The one pager, which I just got at like 8 p.m. last night, is actually a page. It'll be posted on our website soon, and other strategic planning documents. Staff will work diligently to complete these activities and will report back to the board after the end of the current fiscal year. So we're starting that new cycle where we're doing it each year. We're working through the budget process to develop activities for the coming fiscal year. So we're a little behind because we adopted at the end of the fiscal year. So these activities are going to push us through the end of June of 2026. And Chair Lovell, that's all I have for presentation. I'll pass it over to you for discussion, feedback, questions from the board, and action. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Kincaid, that was a quick 45 minutes, sir.
Yeah, I did my best.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the board? Yes, Commissioner Buck.
Thank you. Trying to save my voice for this one. I really appreciate the attachments, they're not necessarily on the screen for the public, but they are attached as material to this particular agenda item. And it was really well done and clear, the way it's presented under each of the goals. I particularly appreciate that some specific projects are called out and where they are in the middle of their, development phase. There was, under additional objective overlap, some symbols that showed that some of these correlate with other items in different sections. That was really helpful as well. I actually was looking for specific things that I wasn't sure would have been picked up, but they were. You were all very thorough, so I appreciate how this is so clear for the public. Like, I was specifically looking for the Goshen leachate pipeline. Of course, that's in here. And it has overlapping, objectives in different areas, like hooking up for housing development, Crestwell, et cetera. So I just want to give kudos to the team and appreciate all the work that you're doing on it.
Thank you.
Super. Commissioner Farr.
Thank you, Captain Kincaid. The one thing that's really cool about this is you're looking at deeper work that's being done in other parts of Lane County government and incorporating that into our goals and strategies. An example is implementing the Poverty and Homelessness Board strategic plan. It's not something separate, it's something that's completely woven together as a fabric, which is really the key to the success of any strategic plan, is that if there are strategic plans adjacent to it, that they're woven in to make the strategies and the tactics in particular correspondent. And I think you've done a superb job. As Commissioner Buck just mentioned regarding Crestwell and the housing issue and the sewage situation outside of the urban growth boundary, that's not an easy project, but Lane County working with the cities of Springfield, City of Eugene, and MPC, not MPC, but excuse me, MWMC, to make that move forward. Once again, integrating other plans into our plan so that our plan can actually supplement and complement the plans that we're adjacent to. I'm not going to say much about that because there's a lot on the strategies that you've presented to us. And for anybody watching, if you click on view items, you go deep in. It goes deep into the key activities of year one. Really an impressive document. I'm excited. Can you hold up the one pager again? And I'm going to look back at Judy because I think Judy is the one who really has worked on one pagers in the past. I don't know if that's a continuum, but these things here are wonderful because it's on a single page, you can really capture every single thing in a document that you can stick up above your desk so that if you look at what you're doing at this moment in time, and we did this with in private industry, we did it in nonprofit, we did it in financial. Anything that you're doing at any one time, how does it correspond to what we have identified as a strategic plan, the strategies and the tactics that are underneath it? And you can actually essentially grade yourself on the work that you're doing right now. I love this. Something that I encourage people to do is have this one pager handy so that you can make certain that we are moving directly toward it, because our activities need to be geared toward the strategies and tactics that are outlined in the strategic plan. I think you've done a masterful job. And looking around the room, the people, and it's more than just the 4 people I see seated in the room today. There are a lot of people are involved in making this move forward. So, Mr. Mokryski, congratulations on a plan that really is well-defined, well identified, and is to be well implemented. I'm very, very impressed. Thank you.
Commissioner Trieger, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to see the one pager too. It's such a great example of, the work of county government is there's such breadth and depth to it. It's hard to winnow it down into something that could be explained. So I like that we have layers of like the highest level synopsis, like the blurb on the back of the book. And then the plan that is linked in our materials is like the flaps, the jacket flaps, a little more in depth, but you actually have to read the whole book to understand all of it, which is the work. I think I also really like the objectives crosswalk with the little iconography that helps us see this helps meet other plan goals as well, or this other body of work is required to make this one succeed, that's super useful. And I also just want to say it's another indication that we chose the right consultant to work with us on this project, because I remember being, Commissioner Lovall and I were on the group that reviewed all the responses to the RFP, and one of the things that I think all of us on that subcommittee appreciated was how they do create these documents to make it actually useful to staff, to the board, and for the public. It's very, it's very easy to follow without being dumbed down, if you will, right? So I'm really pleased with that. Of course, it will be at the end of the year when we see what we were able to accomplish, but that's our work. That's the responsibility of the organization, but the consulting group did a great job helping us with how to express outwardly what this work is, so I'm very pleased with that. And we all know there's a lot more work going on, even than just what's reflected in the plan, but the plan is what helps us kind of regroup and focus when things are feeling a little too big to get our arms around. It's like, well, is it here? Then that's where we focus. So I think it's just a super useful document and really accessible to look at and understand what it is we're trying to work on, and expresses that full range of services that we provide without making it seem like any one is more important than the other, that they all work together. So really appreciate that. And yeah, really looking forward to the one pager. And I know last time we had them sort of everywhere, and we all had them, and we posted it on the website, and I used it a lot to send out, to post on social media. It's a great conversation starter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. This is great. It's fun to see all the work all the time in the BCC conference room all come together on a presentation, and it looks great. It looks really good. I went through it a couple of times. As you know, I was supposed to be gone today, and that didn't work out, so you and I got to go through it. But no, I appreciate it. And one of the things I really do appreciate too is there's a lot of emphasis on our rural communities, which when people go through this stuff, they see that. So just want to say thanks. Looks good. Very good.
One page, hold that up again. Jeff, what's the size of that font? Just out of curiosity, for those of us over 60 wearing glasses.
I think legible, Chair, is
Legible? Well, newspaper font's 8 points, so I'm hoping you at least got me on 11 there on there. That's great.
I have realized that the Lowell Cover Bridge might need a pressure wash on the roof.
Well, there you go. Yeah, well, great job getting that to one page. That was kind of my stinker issue, that I wanted to be very simple, and I think Commissioner Farr illustrated that very well, that it becomes something very clear that you can put on a frame above your desk. And I really appreciate the fact that all the commissioners and the department heads and all the leaders of our community got together to really simplify our mission into one tangible, easy mission statement: we improve lives. I mean, every day you get up, if that's your mission and mantra, to improve somebody's lives, we're going to do better work every day. So I really appreciate the fact that, you know, I hate to say it, but I got all my wishes in this thing, which was really great, and I appreciate you guys working to do that. There's a number of things on your slides that bring out some ideas, and I want to turn this question to Mr. Mokrzycki on slide 8. That it feels a little bit new to me, but I just want to say I want to be involved in these discussions, and that's establish an IGA with the City of Springfield for clean lane fees. You know, as everyone knows from the discussions we've had in the past, the City of Springfield no longer dumps their trash at Short Mountain, so I'm sure those talks are going to, you know, go over some things that are going to cause and require us to negotiate very, very well. So I'd like to keep abreast of that, please, if I could, and be a part of those discussions. So if there's discussions for the board, I would entertain a motion.
Yes, I move to approve Order 25110405 in the matter of adopting year one activities for the 2025-2027 Lane County Strategic Plan.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Buck, thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Senega, the Vice Chair, and seconded by Commissioner Buck to move the attached Order 25110405 and adopting the one-year activity for the 25-27 Lane County Strategic Plan. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Great work, team. Jeff, thank you again for your service to our country as a veteran, one of those veterans in our organization. And I look to my right, and to you, Commissioner Farr, thank you as well for your service. Appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Chair. And just as one brief follow-up, I will send a notice with the one-pager once. I just got it at like 8:15 last night, so it's very hot off the presses. So I'll send you all the file once it's good to go and let you know that it's posted on the website as well.
Good deal. Thank you again. Good work. I can see that page was smoking, so good deal that you put the fire out before you send it.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Jeff. Appreciate it. All right. As we look forward now, we are done with our morning items unless there's any things for the board that we need. If not, I will call for a recess for our afternoon session, which will begin at 1:30 here in Harris Hall. We are recessed.